It's the murder of a Chinese restaurateur 6 weeks ago. He was killed by burglars at his home in London, but the possessions stolen by the killers could turn out to be their downfall. This is Gerrard Street in London's Chinatown, one of the few places in Britain you'll find Chinese jewellery. It was pieces identical to these that were stolen in the murder: 3 jade pendants, a dragon and phoenix bracelet, a wedding ring and a gold chain. The victim rarely came to this area, but his picture is now posted throughout Chinatown. His name is Shi Genghung. He was killed, it seems, for £100 and that small amount of jewellery. He lived just off the Seven Sisters Road in Holloway. He'd moved from the United States last year to live with his son here in Sussex Way. He was a quiet, rather private man, with few friends or interests outside the family. At 66, he was in good shape and liked walking to keep fit. Monday, the 11th of August, was very much like any other day. And as usual, at about 10:30 that morning, he set off to stroll to Kentish Town, 2 miles away. Just around the corner from the Town and Country Club is Fortis Road and his son's fish and chip shop, the Sun Doe. Mr. Hung's son, Ging Huai Hung, has owned the shop for several years. He and his wife work hard here 7 days a week. That Monday, Shi Genghung was especially pleased to see his granddaughter, Rosie. She and her mother had stayed the previous night in the living quarters above the shop. They were preparing food and making the pancake rolls to sell at lunchtime. Shi Genghung knew a great deal about the catering trade. He jointly owned a restaurant in Brooklyn in New York. This photo was taken 11 years ago. He'd lived all across the world, in Guangzhou, in China, in Hong Kong and in Jamaica. After selling up the Brooklyn restaurant, he'd come to live in England 15 months ago with his son and family. The restaurant sale had left him money for his retirement, and he still had plans to travel before settling down. Mr. Hung stayed at the shop until closing time just after lunch at around 2:30. Then he and his son left to go back to Sussex Way to have their own lunch.
I have news about your son.
What is it?
Your son and your son now in Hong Kong. They I think this year will come back to Hong Kong.
You when想去啊？
大約聖誕時間啦嚇。
食飯食啦。
The son remembers nothing was unusual that Monday afternoon. At about 4:45, he left to go back to the shop. His father seemed happy and at ease. Shi Genghung loved reading and gardening. At 6:50 that evening, a neighbour noticed he was out in his garden cutting back the ivy. This was the last time Shi Genghung was seen alive, except, that is, by whoever killed him. It seems he spent the evening quietly in the house. A light was on in the downstairs room where he normally watched TV.
Manchester United supporters have arrived back at Harwich after last night's violence in Amsterdam.
Whatever happened, the TV was certainly switched off by morning. We know he had an evening meal and washed the dishes, but the light stayed on all night. Sometime between 9 and 11 p.m, at least 2 people got into the house. They stabbed, tortured and battered Shi Genghung to death. The man now hunting for his killers is Detective Superintendent Fergus Corker, and it was a particularly horrible and vicious killing, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. An appalling attack on a defenceless man who suffered horrific injuries, and the people responsible must be caught.
Are they Chinese? English? Do we know?
At this stage, I can't really say.
Now, the jewellery they took is very distinctive. I've got one item here. This is pure gold, and it's quite something. The most recognisable piece, in fact, is identical to this. It is gold, and to describe it, here's Dr. Stephen Tang from Manchester, who's an expert in Oriental jewellery of this sort.
This is a gold bracelet, usually presented to the bride before her wedding. It's from the close relatives of the family, with a dragon and a finished design with a double happiness in the middle. It represents harmony and fortune. The value will cost the family perhaps a few thousand of dollars, Hong Kong dollars, and yet it's not the value that is money value that's important, it's the sentimental value that is within, which is most paramount.
So you need anybody who's seen that jewellery to call you. Any other clues?
Yes, any of that jewellery particularly, and about 4,500 luncheon vouchers were stolen of various denominations, but they're all marked in one of two ways. Either the marking of two lines across at the front of the voucher, or a form of Z-type marking. They're all marked in one of those ways.
I mean, frankly, if I've got several thousand luncheon vouchers, which perhaps I shouldn't have, or I've got this sort of jewellery, which again, maybe I shouldn't have, I'm going to be a bit worried about calling you.
Sure. Well, I would appeal particularly to any of the criminal fraternity who may have come into possession of those items to ring me in the strictest of confidence. I'm not worried about their possession at this time. I'm solely concerned in the identity of the people responsible.
You're not going to take action against them?
At this stage, no.
Now, what about the killers? How many of them? What do we know about them?
From the inquiries we've made so far, I'm satisfied that there were at least two of them, and they left the house and walked down Sussex Way in the direction of Seven Sisters Road, which is a very, very busy thoroughfare. As they turned into Seven Sisters Road, there is the Safeway supermarket, and directly outside Safeway's there is a bus stop with numerous buses stopping there and carrying passengers on up towards Finsbury Park.
Now, this is between 9 and 11 p.m. at night. Lots of people around, lots of pubs near there too.
That's right. No doubt at all, if people were at the bus stop or on the buses, I would appeal for them to recollect if they saw at least two people, both of whom indeed would have been bloodstained.
OK, those pubs, very quickly.
Yes, there's three public houses where people may have come from. The Enfield Arms at Hornsey Road, or the next one at the junction of Seven Sisters Road, and the Nag's Head at Holloway Road.
Right. There's a £5,000 reward. If you can help, please call us. A particularly horrible killing. The number to ring if you can help, 01811 8055. If you've any information at all, please call 01811 8055. You can speak to a detective or to a BBC researcher, and in English or in Cantonese. Or you can call the incident room at Holloway Police Station on 01 263 9090. That's 01 263 9090.
Our first case tonight is a murder. John Gaspa, a London restaurant manager, was killed just over 11 weeks ago. The manner of his death strongly suggests that somebody who knew him must have been involved in his killing. But tonight, detectives believe that viewers who may never have heard of John Gaspa might be able to help discover who did kill him. Our reconstruction starts in the West End of London, where he worked. The Pizza Pomodoro in Beak Street, London W1. It's on the north side of Soho, 5 minutes from Regent Street, and it's busy from lunchtime till late at night. John Gaspa had several partners, but as manager, he virtually lived in the place. It was a year since he'd started there, and literally hundreds of customers, particularly the women whom he made a special point of talking to, would remember his chat and easy charm. John Gaspa was something of an entrepreneur. During 1986, he'd been hoping to expand and had been looking for new businesses in London and beyond. He'd made inquiries in Hull and had recently visited properties in Taunton in Somerset. He used his Camden town flat almost like a hotel. He rarely got home before 2 a.m. He'd bring a carton of milk from the restaurant for breakfast, the only meal he ever ate there. The flat was comfortable and secure. He never felt the need to double lock the door. If anyone wanted to get in, they'd have to obtain a key.
Penny for the guy! Penny for the guy!
It's Wednesday, November the 5th, 5 days before John Gaspa died. In Kensington High Street, West London, is Banham's, the specialist locksmiths. Sometime that day, probably during the morning, an expensively dressed couple were waiting for service. Other customers might recall an argument one of the salesmen was having with a man who couldn't prove his identity.
You can ring my solicitor.
No, we need to see some proof of ownership before we can re-register.
You can ring my estate agent.
The couple seemed uneasy and rather self-conscious. An expensive beige car, perhaps a Mercedes or a Daimler, was parked outside. Someone wanted a duplicate key to John Gaspa's home.
Can I have a kick up, please?
I'll just take the registration for you.
The letter of authority with Mr. Gaspa's signature on it was forged. But the man had one of Gaspa's rate demands and his key. A second key was duly cut.
Here's the rates demand and the registration card. If you could ask Mr. Gaspa to complete it and post it back to us. And here's the key.
5 days later, Monday the 10th of November, the day of John Gaspa's death, Berwick Street Market in Soho. At about 5 p.m, Mr. Gaspa popped out of the restaurant to pick up a suit from the dry cleaners.
How's things?
It's all right, thank you. Are you all right?
Very well.
Over the next couple of hours, he certainly went back to the restaurant, but it's still not clear whether he went anywhere else or met anyone else in that time. The Gardens Health Club in Kingley Street is a couple of minutes' walk from the Pizza Pomodoro. John was a regular client, and we know he checked in at exactly 6:50 that day.
Great.
Okay, see you
Thank
later.
you very much indeed.
John spent about an hour there. He used the sunbed every other day. As he was leaving, he bumped into a business associate, Doran Zilka.
Just the man I was looking for.
How are you?
Fine, I'll just pop into the restaurant.
I'm going around there now. Come with me.
Fine.
Okay. Bye, Melanie.
Bye.
Thank you.
The two men hadn't seen each other for a few weeks, and they had various joint business ventures to discuss. Zilka was there until about 10:30. During that time, he remembers John spending quite a lot of time talking on the telephone. And he also remembers something else John mentioned.
The fact I'm leaving early because I've got to meet someone.
Apart from his intentions to leave early, John Gaspa seemed his usual self. It was just a normal weekday evening at the restaurant. He ate just before midnight, and it was after that that he broke with his usual routine.
Socky, I've got a very important meeting early in the morning and I'm leaving now. Can I have a pint of milk, please? Yes. Will you lock up? Give the keys to Tiziana so that she can open in the morning. Yeah. All right. All right. Okay. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow.
He may have had two appointments then, one that night and one in the morning. If he did have a meeting planned for that night, police have never discovered where it was or who it was with. They do know he left in his partner's green VW Golf, which he often borrowed. His flat is in a small block overlooking Camden Road, about a couple of miles due north of Soho. From forensic evidence, it seems he could have got back there any time between 12:45 and 2 o'clock, and he was probably alone. His flat was on the 3rd floor of Julian Court, and as he took the lift up, John Gaspa probably had no idea that someone was already up there waiting for him. John Gaspa was shot as he walked in the door. No one else in the block heard a sound. Detective Chief Inspector Ian Blair is investigating the case. First of all, what more do you need to know about where John Gaspa went on the day that he died?
We've looked into that day very thoroughly, Sue, but obviously there are gaps. He popped out of the restaurant from time to time. He made lots of phone calls, like the one that was shown on the film. And we need to know who he spoke to and who he saw when he popped out. Above all, however, what we really need to know is when he left that restaurant, where did he go and who was he with? It looks as though he was probably alone and he drove home alone, but it might be that this meeting that we're missing was somewhere else and he picked up his killer. So we're really very interested in anybody who saw John on that night.
Right. Now, going back to November the 5th, Guy Fawkes Day, when somebody got a duplicate key to John's flat from Banham's the locksmiths, you need that couple to come forward.
I need that couple to come forward. I also need everybody who was in Banham's on that day. It may have been that couple who had the key cut. It may not have been. It may have been somebody else. So I need to know anybody who was in Banham's on Guy Fawkes night.
That rates demand was genuine and so was the key. How do you think they got hold of that?
Well, it would have been possible to get hold of the rates demand from the communal sort of postal section of his flats, and the key must have been stolen.
But the letter, that was forged.
Yes, that was forged. I've got it here. It's grey because it's been fingerprinted, but it's on white paper. And this letter here is not in Gaspa's writing, and it's not Gaspa's signature. Now, it's possible that the Banham's end is something that Gaspa arranged, but we don't know that, and it's a very, very important clue.
It's unusual writing with the little circular dots on the eyes.
Extremely unusual, and we'd like to hear from anybody who knows that writing.
How much do you know now about John Gaspa himself?
Well, that's really the main point of the appeal, Sue. We've looked into this man's life. It's a very private life, in compartments, in which one compartment doesn't know another compartment. And in that life, there is nothing which gives an indication of why he was killed. This is a very premeditated murder. There's the key, there's the appointment to which he was obviously going. There's a diary that's missing. He wrote everything in that diary and we have never recovered it, and it's likely that the appointment was in that. And what we're really looking for is what is it in John Gaspa's life that we don't know about that has led to his death? Somebody wanted him dead, and they wanted him dead so badly they were prepared to go to these lengths. So I want to hear from anybody who knows John Gaspa and who has not yet contacted the police.
Mr. Blair, thank you. And if you do, and if you can help, please call now on 01 811 8055. That's 01 811 8055. And remember, there are detectives from the case here in the studio, or you can speak to a BBC researcher if you prefer. And there are lines open now to the incident room in Kentish Town Police Station. Their number is 01 725 3782 or 3786. That's 01 725 3782 or 3786. Sad one. Christopher Cumley, a jeweller, was in the process of closing down his small shop in Stoke Newington in North London. He was going to leave the jewellery business for good and move away to the country with his wife and 3 young children. On the morning of Wednesday the 17th of June, with just 2 days more of trading left, he was murdered, shot by 2 robbers for the sake of a few gold chains. His dog, Sasha, was shot as well. In our reconstruction, Mrs. Cumley talks about the plans they'd had and the events of that day. And I should say that a specialist theatrical agency provided the dog to play Sasha's part. The date, again, is Wednesday, the 17th of June. Christopher Cumley lived in Walthamstow in north-east London, and his shop was in North Wold Road in neighbouring Stoke Newington.
We started the business 4.5 years ago, and we had high hopes. But during the course of that time, we had quite a few problems. It started with somebody snatching a bag from outside the shop. About a year later, somebody hit him over the head with a bar. Then, 2.5 years ago, he was subjected to an armed robbery. They held one of the customers hostage.
But let her go.
Shut up! I think we felt that we'd had our fair share of trouble, so we would press on to the end of the lease. But we decided not to renew. There was no way we were going to stay there. And we had decided to move out of London, to take the children and live out in the country. And we were within just a couple of weeks of closing the shop when this happened.
Wednesday morning, June the 17th, Mr. Cumley was getting ready to go to work as usual.
Come on, Sasha. Come on. Just off, dear. Bye.
Oh, okay, dear, bye.
And you kids, piano practice.
Okay, Dad.
Okay, Dad.
Bye, Daddy.
Bye. Come on. Come on. That's here. Oh, here's my bus. Bye.
Bye.
Mr. Cumley always took his dog, Sasha, with him.
We got Sasha from the RSPCA after the armed robbery. We felt that we wanted a guard dog. But we also had to have an animal that would fit in well with our family. We have 3 young children. And the RSPCA had this dog in care, and they thought that she would be suitable.
Come on, now. Come on, Sassy, there's got to be a stick here for you somewhere.
She was devoted to all of us, but particularly to Chris. There was a particular bond between them.
Good girl. Come on. Come on, Sassy.
And if he went out in the evening, she'd lie down by the front door and wait for him to come home. And sort of tell him off when he came in. There'd be a conversation between them.
Northwold Road at 9:15. At this time in the morning, there's always a long queue at the bus stop outside Mr. Cumley's shop. The hairdresser next door was already at work.
Yes, I think I do.
The previous attacks had made Mr. Cumley understandably security conscious. A keen musician himself, Mr. Cumley liked to listen to classical music while he got ready to open the shop. His first job of the morning was to put out his stock.
Champion's there, 24. Thursday. We can fit you in Thursday morning at 10 o'clock.
With only a few days to go before closing down, Mr. Cumley didn't have much stock left.
Hold on. Hold on. Polish. Morning. What would you be interested in? Will you shut the door, please? Sasha! What the... Get back! Sasha! You...
The 2 men ran off in opposite directions. Sasha was badly wounded, but chased after one of them. Half a mile away from the shop, Sasha had given up the chase. She was found dying later that morning.
About 12:10, I was going out shopping, so I decided to phone Christopher and find out if he wanted anything. I let the phone ring for some time, but I assumed that he must be serving a customer, and he wasn't able to answer, so I left it.
Well, Roger Stoodley is in charge of the case. The difficult thing to understand, really, is why he was murdered.
Yes, that's right. Though it's clear that this is a reconstruction, obviously from the evidence we have, there was a tremendous struggle took place inside the shop. And it may be that he did try and prevent the robbery and was shot in the course of that.
What was the gun they used?
The gun they used is one similar to this. It's a .455 revolver. It's one that's used in the First World War, and because they're old, they're getting quite rare now.
Right, and you can tell that from the ammunition you found?
Yes, from the evidence we know it's a .455 revolver type weapon. Yes.
Perhaps somebody might recognise that. What descriptions do you have of the two men?
We have a video fit of one who was described as between 30 and 35 years old, 6 foot tall. As can be seen, he was black. He was wearing a black bomber jacket, tight black trousers with a distinctive white, what appeared to be a chalk mark on the left leg. The second one was shorter, about 5'9", aged about 25. Also black, his hair was longer, described as wiry, and he was wearing a blue tracksuit top with white piping on the sleeve and white, possibly trainer shoes.
Right. Now, Sasha the dog followed the taller of those two, the one we had the video fit of. If we could just punch up our micro map, we can see the route she actually took. There's the shop there, and the two men ran out and off in opposite directions. And the dog followed the taller one.
That's right. The dog followed the taller one towards the high street.
Right. And then the dog was found dying half a mile away in Leabridge Road.
Yes.
That means that they took a rather strange getaway route, if it was the getaway route.
Yes, it did. But we're not certain of the exact route it took. We know it went into one small turning on the junction of the high street, but after that, we're not clear where it went, and it may be that it was following the first suspect.
Right. So what you obviously need is for somebody to come forward who saw either of those two men running away from the scene on that day.
Yes, we do.
And there must have been quite a lot of people in Northwold Road.
Yes, there was a bus stop, as can be seen, right outside the shop, and at that time of the morning there are usually 40 or 50 people waiting for various buses at that point, and of the large number of people we believe were there, only a very small handful have come forward with any information.
Remember, it was Wednesday the 17th of June. You have had some information as a result of some publicity leading up to this programme?
Yes, certainly we have. Yes, 2 days ago, as a result of the trailer for this programme, a witness came forward who saw the second suspect running up a road just to the left of the shop, and we've confirmed that that is identical to the description of the second suspect.
Right, well, let's hope somebody can add to that, Mr. Soody. Thank you very much. And if you do know anything you think which might help to find these two murderers, please phone us here on 01 811 8055, or you can ring the incident room direct, and that is 01 488 5212. That's 01 488 5212. Of Michael Williams 10 weeks ago. He was last seen alive on the Friday evening before the August bank holiday weekend. His body was found early next morning in Highgate Wood in North London, close to where he lived. But police need to know where he went and what happened to him during the course of that night. Michael was 43. He'd lived in Highgate all his life, and he was an active member of the local church. He'd been married for 18 years and had a 2-year-old daughter. Michael was always keen to spend as much time as he could with her and worked flexi hours and often came home early to look after her. Our reconstruction begins in Pimlico in South London, where Michael worked. He was employed by the Home Office here at Horseferry House, where he'd helped set up the police national computer. Ironically, the very system which is now being used to help track down whoever killed him. It's Friday the 26th of August.
Hello.
Hello, it's me. I just wondered how late you'd be tonight.
Look, I'll work for another hour or so. Should be home about 8.
OK, I'll put Marie to bed then. We'll see you later.
Michael had been under a lot of pressure at work, and for the past week he'd been staying late every evening to finish a particular project.
We're off to the Paviers for a few drinks. Coming?
Oh, lucky for some. No, I've still got work to do.
Oh, come on. You've got 3 whole days off.
Why not?
I'll wait outside.
See you in a while.
So instead of going straight home that night, he came here to the Paviers Arms in Pimlico.
Let's do a bit of music, do a bit in the garden.
Yeah. Would you like another
That's
drink?
it? No, thanks.
No,
You sure?
not for me either, thanks.
Oh, God, is that the time? No, I said I'd be home at 8-ish.
Yeah, it's about time to go. So you're going on the tube?
Yep.
Yeah, I'll come with
You come in? Bye, all. See you next week. Yeah, you too.
Bye.
Yes, yes, I did, but it's late. No problem.
Right, well, this is where I change. So, see you, Michael. Have a nice weekend.
That was the last time anyone he knew saw him alive. From now, we can only speculate about where Michael went next. If he'd taken his usual journey home, he'd have continued on the Victoria line as far as Warren Street or Euston, where he would have changed onto the Northern line. By then, it would have been about midnight. From here, he'd get on the Northern line to Highgate. But it's by no means certain that he did take his usual route home that night. Perhaps he met someone along the way. Police need to talk to anyone who may have seen him. If he did come to Highgate station, his walk home would have taken him past Highgate Wood. Or he may have gone one step further along the Northern line to East Finchley, because someone who looked like Michael was seen there at about 12:30 by a ticket collector.
Evening. Which way to the Lewis?
Toilets are closed here, Gov.
Okay.
If that was Michael, where did he go next? Was he planning to walk home from here? This is Highgate Wood, a popular spot even early in the mornings.
Come on, let's go home.
It's the next day, Saturday morning. At about 8:20, a woman walking her dog saw something lying by the path leading to the wood. It was Michael Williams' body. He'd been killed by a single blow to the throat.
Yankee Romeo from 559. Can you call the CID? I found a dead body in the alleyway off of Lanchester Road, N6.
Police need to know whether he was killed there or whether his body was left there later. Several people who'd used the path even earlier that morning didn't see the body, so it's vital that more witnesses come forward to help work out what did happen. At 6 o'clock that morning, this man was walking his dog near the woods past the spot where Michael's body was found. He saw nothing there, but then just round the corner, something odd happened.
My dog's usually quiet, and she saw this man standing over there, run at him and barked at him hysterically. The man was standing there, absolutely immobile, and looked as if he was hypnotized under the influence of something. He was not moving at all. It was absolutely unreal how the man stood there and did not react to my dog, who was attacking him and barking at him.
Three-quarters of an hour later, as the gates to the wood were being unlocked for the day, the strange man had gone. And just 5 minutes after that, there was still nothing seen by the path. So police believe it must have been between 7 o'clock and 7:40 that his body was put there. It may have been dumped from a car. And there's a postscript. This is the New Argent Tandoori restaurant in Fry and Barnet Road in Southgate. The day after Michael's body was found, someone came into the restaurant and paid by credit card.
Your bill, sir.
Well, that card, of course, belonged to Michael Williams. Peter Wilton, Michael had been robbed of all the property he had on him. Was robbery the motive, do you think?
That certainly was one motive, but this case has homosexual connotations. He was a bisexual. It may well be that he met somebody and left somebody before he got attacked. I would like that person to come forward, or any person that was attacked in the locality that hasn't reported it before. Will they please come forward?
What description do you have of that strange man seen standing at 6 o'clock in the morning in Highgate Wood in some kind of trance?
Yes, he's never been identified. He's 6 foot tall, white man, slim build, blondish brown hair, with a beard of the same colouring.
Complete mystery, that. Whoever murdered Michael, was he a karate expert?
Could well be. We've spoken to several karate experts, and they say it would take several years of experience to deliver a blow such as that, because there was a lot of force used to Michael Williams' throat.
So a clue might lie there.
Yes.
Now you need to trace whoever used Michael's access card at the New Argent Tandoori restaurant, if only to eliminate him from your inquiries.
Yes, I would like them to come forward, because they may well not have been the person that attacked Michael Williams. They may have got the card by buying it, finding it, so I would like them to come forward. It may well be that other people were there whilst they used it as well, so they might know something about it.
That will obviously save you hundreds of man-hours of work.
Certainly.
Do you promise him discretion if you come
Yes,
forward?
most certainly. Yes, we're confidential.
Right. Now the main hope must be to trace some of Michael's property, all in a black and white carrier bag with ID on it.
That's right.
If we just run through the property very quickly, there was a radio pager
Yes.
called a Voda page.
Yes.
That may have been discarded somewhere, so that
I
could
would
be an
think
important
so.
clue if anybody finds that. There was a computer manual.
Yes, his own.
There was his Home Office pass.
That's right.
And also a signet ring with his initials on. We don't have that, of course. And a distinctive Rolex watch. Could you tell me about that?
Yes, it was made for him about 17 years ago, and the peculiar thing about it is that there were clasps around the face of the watch, holding the face of the watch, so it is quite distinctive.
Right, so we're looking for all those items of property. If you were in Highgate Woods early that Saturday morning, please call us, even if you don't actually think you saw anything of interest. And if there's anything you can add to what police know of where Michael was that Friday night, Saturday morning, again, please call. The number here in the studio, as always, is 01811 8055, or ring the incident room direct, and that is 01803 3311. It's 01803 3311.
Now, if you can think back to 2 weeks before Christmas, were you in North London, perhaps driving through Stoke Newington? Stoke Newington is on the A10, one of the main roads to the city from the north. On Sunday, December the 11th, you might have noticed that an estate agent was open in Evering Road. Or maybe you knew the proprietor, Lionel Webb. A Barbadian by birth, he'd lived most of his life in Birmingham, then moved down to London in 1985. On that Sunday, at around the close of business, with the lights in his office blazing, Lionel was murdered in full view of the street. Lionel had become a familiar face in Stoke Newington. He'd moved his business here from Edgware in October, and for weeks before that he'd been supervising the refitting of the shop. Locals say even then he was scouting for new properties to buy.
Excuse me. Hi, I'm Lionel Webb from the property developers next door. I was wondering if you ever wanted to sell.
Well, I bought this a year ago as an investment.
How much?
Well, 36.
Well, I'd be more than willing to double that to 75.80. Yeah? Well, listen. Think about it and give us a call.
I will.
Okay?
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
His plans were to acquire the whole row of houses around his office on Evering Road, opposite St Paul's Church. 5 days before his death, on Tuesday the 6th of December, a white Datsun van was noticed parked outside Lionel's office. The witness remembers a man with a large hook nose and a tattoo on his hand. Was this you, or do you know who it was? Lionel worked 7 days a week, and at 9 a.m. on the fateful day, Sunday the 11th of December, he set off from his home in Mill Hill. He was carrying a briefcase and a black plastic bag. About 11 o'clock on that Sunday morning, a man wearing a dark woolly hat got out of a red car and went into Lionel's office. Then there's a gap in sightings. Where did Lionel go that morning? Because about 2 hours later, at 1:30, he was seen returning to his office. And he was seen to look up and down the road before entering. Then, it seems, he took a shower. A short while later, the woman who owned the corner property came round. She'd decided to accept Lionel's offer, but he'd failed to call her back.
Where have you been? I waited in all day for you on Thursday to contact me.
Listen, I'm sorry. I've got the money and the deal can go through, okay?
Cash?
80,000.
When?
Come here tomorrow, we can sign the papers.
Okay. See you. Talk to you soon.
Okay, take care.
About an hour later, at around 2:30, a man in his 50s or 60s was seen in Lionel's office. He was dressed in a smart Trilby hat and grey checkered overcoat. Then, at about 3 o'clock, Lionel's secretary turned up.
Oh, hello. What are you doing here?
Just had a row with my boyfriend.
Surprised he stayed so long.
What do you mean? Was he ever done to you?
Nothing.
You're in a strange mood.
Well, wouldn't you be if you had debts like mine?
Oh, everybody's got debts today.
What? 2,000 to this person, 20,000 to that person. Come on, how am I going to pay that?
Worry, something will turn up.
Yeah, like what?
I don't know, something will. Relax.
Lionel had promised to help his secretary buy a car, and she'd arranged for one to be brought round at 4 o'clock.
It's nice. It's really nice.
The car owner told the police that Lionel offered just under £4,000, but asked him to wait till the end of the week for the cash. An hour later, at 10 to 5, a passing motorist saw 2 white men in Lionel's company. At 5:30, a local handyman called in. He'd worked on Lionel's office.
Time you went home. Like you haven't got a home to go to.
Sometime round then, Lionel rang a friend, but she remembers he had nothing much to say.
You going to college tomorrow?
Then she heard rustling in the background.
Yeah, well, take care. Everything will be all right.
Around the same time, 2 witnesses stopped briefly to look at the notices in the window. They clearly remember seeing a man in a dark suit and tie sitting at the desk, but they're confident it was not Lionel. Then a black hatchback was seen to speed away from Evering Road. When the handyman returned, he found Lionel's door ajar. Bill Cutts, why? What was the motive?
Well, maybe robbery. There's a briefcase and £4,000 that we never recovered, that we know he had, or more likely is a gangland revenge killing over drugs or money deals.
Now, what's the link with drugs?
Well, in the back of the shop after the killing, the police arrived, they found 2 kilos of cannabis resin. Each kilo was wrapped in a clear cellophane packet. At Eddie's home in North London was a large quantity of amphetamine-based tablets.
We must make it clear that we will treat with great discretion anybody who calls into the studio if they've had any dealings with drugs, but if it's of a minor nature, the police really aren't going to be interested in that. This is a murder inquiry. Now, of the people who were represented in the film, obviously you need everyone to come forward if they think that they were represented there. The white man with the hook nose and the tattoo, that was on his left hand, wasn't it?
On the left hand, yes, just between the forefinger and thumb.
And it definitely said mum, no question about that.
No doubt about it.
That's pretty distinctive, and you obviously need him to come forward to eliminate himself or anybody else who knows him. Then there was a black man in a very smart suit sitting at Lionel's desk.
Yes, this was about 5:30, 5:45 in the evening of the Sunday the 11th.
Right, and the witness is convinced that wasn't Lionel?
Yes, they're most certain that it wasn't the same man.
OK, there's a black hatchback car. Again, there's another clue you saw screeching away at the end of around the time of the murder. If that was you and you had nothing to do with this murder, for heaven's sake, come forward. And I also gather you've got some more evidence, literally in the last 24 hours, about a 10-year-old girl.
That's right, a passing motorist has just come forward 24 hours ago and told us that he saw a 10-year-old girl walking past the shop at about 5:45, which is the most important time, around about the time of Lionel's death.
Well, obviously, there aren't very many 10-year-old girls or girls of that age watching this programme, but if you are the parent in Stoke Newington of a girl, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, who could have been in Evering Road on Sunday, the 11th of December at 6 o'clock or thereabouts, please do call us. Here's the number to the studio if you can help with any of these, 01 811 8055. Alternatively, you can try the incident room. That's 01488 5212. 01488 5212. Our next case is a murder that took place some 3 months ago. It seems to have been a premeditated ambush, but the killers left several amateurish clues, and at first detectives hoped to solve the murder quickly. As the weeks have passed, though, the evidence they need has been surprisingly elusive. Even the motive isn't clear. Tonight, the inquiry team need your help to piece the clues together. The victim was Peter Rasini, who lived in Palmer's Green, North London, and whose business was in Paddington, not far from Marble Arch. In this reconstruction, his daughter, Lola, takes us through what happened in the last few days that led up to his death. This is Church Street Market, just off the Edgware Road, where several shops specialise in antiques and second-hand artefacts. And one store, Alfie's, is subdivided into dozens of indoor stalls. Peter Rasini had traded here for several years.
My dad was very caring, the sort of person that you could tell your problems to, except he wouldn't tell anyone his. Everyone liked him. And the minute he'd walk in, everyone rushed up to see if he had any new stock to buy. And he mainly sold to the same people that worked there. And then he'd have a few regular people that would come in each week to see if he had anything new. He sold a bit of jewellery, silver, old antiques, anything he could get his hands on.
Yeah, Chinese. Yeah.
He loved it.
This is Oak Tree Road in Palmer's Green, North London, 200 yards from Peter Rasini's home. A neighbour noticed two men sitting in what he remembers as a white van at the corner of Green Lanes. And the next night, another neighbour saw another van, though this time its passenger got out and walked towards Green Lanes. The van drove off, at first, without its lights on.
Peter was a dealer who I've known for 20 years. I think, in fact, Peter really preferred buying than selling, and found it much easier. I last saw him on Sunday, the day he was murdered. I arrived here at 7:15, and the atmosphere was very relaxed. They just had a meal and a drink or two and appeared to be enjoying themselves. Very strong, is it?
You should have helped me, shouldn't you?
Oh, right, okay. I better not say any more. That's the only decent thing. That's like a clock.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it seems to be okay. Right. Then I'd like £10 for.
Fine.
A plated sauce boat, 15. And that I want £100 for. It's Edwardian, but it appears to be going okay. So I think that's all right. Are you happy?
Yeah. Fine. Great.
Now, usual problem. What shall I do with the things?
That doesn't matter.
Peter, I don't want to put them back in here. Peter, when are you going to tidy this place up?
You should have brought a good duster as well as that cup of tea.
Peter,
Come on, get to it with a will, kid.
Peter, it's not fair because now you've got Lola here. You must do something about it. Yes.
Well, you can set to with it if you want to.
You're doing Kempton, aren't you, on Tuesday?
Yes. Yes, I've got the car packed. Well, a bit more packed than normal.
Yes, but is that safe?
Well, it's all right round here.
What do we do with him, honestly?
Did you lock him?
I don't know. It doesn't matter. Nothing's going to happen.
He, in fact, had appeared to me of late to have been not quite as relaxed and may have had something on his mind. But he was a very private person when it came to these sort of things, and in fact would give one no indication of what it was. But I do feel there was something troubling him at the back of his mind.
Later that Sunday evening, at around 7:30, Peter left his house to see a friend in Kentish Town, not far away. His niece and Lola stayed at home to watch TV. A blue van was again in Oak Tree Road. When did it arrive? When Peter returned just after 9 o'clock, he parked in his usual place, just around the corner from his house. A man was running off down River Avenue. He was about 6 feet tall, heavily built, dressed in a bomber jacket and hard-heeled shoes.
What happened? Did he open the door to someone?
48 River Avenue, Palmer Street, now!
As the gunman turned into Oak Tree Road, several witnesses saw him heading for the van. He was about 40 to 50 years old, panting, and obviously unused to running. The van set off without its lights on till it turned right and sped away along green lanes.
On the Sunday that my dad died, he was happy, had no worries on his mind. And we had dinner and was just talking and relaxing at home. If you have someone that you love so much and to see them happy 1 minute and then to see them dead, it's the worst thing in the world.
Peter Rasini would be 45 today. Today's his birthday. What do you think the motive was?
That's the answer, a question my detectives and I have been trying to answer for the last 2.5 months. We've been looking into the areas of his private life, into his business life, and more recently we've been looking very deeply into his addiction to cocaine. We've been looking at people that might have been supplying him cocaine. Also, we've become aware that he was sometimes not too diligent in checking on the background of property that he bought. In other words, we suspect he bought stolen property.
Now, if someone who knew him and had handled stolen property, or someone who knew him and had been themselves involved with drugs, with cocaine, they might be pretty reluctant to get on the phone and call Crimewatch.
Well, for legal reasons, I can't promise an amnesty, but what I can say is that I'm interested in who killed Peter Rasini, not these other matters.
And we can read between the lines. Now, this is a replica of the murder weapon, 45 caliber. I mean, it has a kick like a mule, very, very heavy weapon indeed, has a handgun. Almost unheard of. It's a gun for use in crime in this country.
Yes, I understand there's only been a couple of instances of such a gun being used in this manner in the last few decades.
Now, how could any Crimewatch viewer help about a weapon like this?
I'd like to know if anyone was stolen from a viewer who owned it legitimately under a firearms certificate, or if anyone in the underworld has become aware of such a gun having been sold just about the time of Peter's death, or indeed disposed of afterwards.
Now, what about the gunman? I described him as between 40 and 50, and he was obviously pretty unfit, running that couple of hundred yards. What else do we know about him?
Well, he was white, he was aged, as you say, 40 to 50, heavy build, wearing dark clothing, and what may have been a balaclava, certainly a woolly hat, could have been a balaclava rolled up.
Curiously, he was wearing shoes that made an awful lot of racket and drew a lot of attention to him as he was running away. It's an odd thing to do. Those vans, the white van on the Friday night, or what seemed like a white van, and the two blue vans thereafter, could be unconnected, perhaps?
Well, the white van on the Friday night, if it was unconnected, what I would like to hear from are the people that were using that van. If they could come forward, we can eliminate them from the inquiry.
This is Friday the 22nd of March.
That's right.
Anybody was in a white van in that area?
About 10:30.
And the Saturday night was clearly, or almost certainly, the same van that was there on the Sunday.
I think that's a very good probability that it was. But again, if it wasn't, we'd like to hear from the people using that van, so once again we can eliminate them from the inquiry.
Do you know what sort of van it was?
We think it was a Bedford Midi. That's the very best guess that our witnesses can give us, but if it wasn't actually a Midi, it's very, very similar.
OK. Well, let me tell you, there is a reward of £5,000 that's been posted by Peter Rasini's father. If you think that you can help in any way, do please call us. Here's the number, 081 811 8181. Or you can call the incident room. That number direct is 081 807 9332. 081, there it is, 807 9332.
Well, our first case tonight is the murder last summer of Tom Griffiths at his home in northwest London. Tom, who suffered from Parkinson's disease, lived with his son Paul and daughter-in-law Kim in a ground-floor flat near Cricklewood, Broadway. On Friday, the 28th of June, for no reason anyone can imagine, he was savagely murdered. In our film, although actors take the parts of Paul and Kim, it's Paul's voice you hear describing what happened. Our reconstruction begins at their flat in Cricklewood.
After Mum died 2.5 years ago, my dad really didn't seem to take much care of himself. He sort of let himself go, really. He used to drink a lot since Mum died. He had nothing really else to go on for, really.
was closer than anything you can really imagine. Mum was actually part of Dad.
I'll go up as well now, I think.
Right. Good night.
Night, Dad.
On the morning of the day Tom was murdered, Friday the 28th of June, he went to St John's Wood to do some odd jobs for a family friend. He left there at about 10:30. But no one knows how he spent the rest of that day. He arrived home at around 6 o'clock. Tom would often have a few drinks before he went out in the evening. And he'd always put the radio on to deter burglars.
This is Ian Ramage. Yugoslavia and the Republic of Slovenia say they've agreed to a ceasefire, ending civil war, which has led...
His local pub is the Windmill on Cricklewood Broadway. It's only 300 yards from his home. The key to his murder may well lie in what happened here that night. He joined his friend, Dave Sampson.
Hello. How are you, Ken? Dave.
On the Friday evening, Tom came in about 9. He appeared to have been drinking at home that evening.
Oh, so as usual, bit of this, bit of that. Bloody cars playing me up. Do you know, I'd have spent a fortune on that bloody thing.
Tom got a little bit loud, but it wasn't really a problem.
Value. Hello. Hiya. You all right? You enjoying yourself? Yeah. That's good.
He did his usual round of the tables, but no one seemed to really get annoyed at it.
But Tom may have upset someone, and police still need to talk to anybody who might have seen him in the Windmill pub that Friday night.
Are you all right, Tom? Take care, mate. Watch how you go down the road. See you tomorrow. Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. See you, Dave. You all right? Yeah. Sure. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow, mate. Right?
It was 11:10 when Tom left. A few minutes later, Dave Sampson also left. Outside, he saw Tom standing in the road talking to a couple. A man standing in the doorway appeared to be watching them. 5 minutes later, Barry Tuffy was walking along Cricklewood Broadway.
I was taking my dog Max for a walk about 11:15. I noticed this man in the road talking to two young girls. His age about 60. And they had their hand out. They was looking for, well, basically money. That's what I thought it was, you know. And then the two young girls ran past me, heading towards Kilburn. I just thought, oh, you know, they must have got a couple of quid off the guy, you know. And then I turned the dog round and I walked back. The guy was still there, he was arguing with two guys. One black, one white. I turned round, he was spinning round. He landed on the floor, my shoe fell off. And I thought, poor sod, you know.
An hour later, Tom would be dead. Meanwhile, in Scardew Road, a neighbour across the street from Tom's house saw a couple arguing. They stopped outside Tom's flat. An hour after that, at about 20 past midnight, the woman in the flat above Tom's heard him shouting in the shared hall downstairs. Paul and Kim had spent the evening out.
Okay, it's just a little way on the right here. A bit further along. That's the one. Yeah, that's it. I get it.
You sure?
Yeah, I've got it.
Good enough. Okay, it's 5 of them, please.
Okay.
When Kim and I got home, I saw a man walking down our pathway, turning right to walk down towards the Broadway. I didn't really take much notice of him. You know, it could have been a friend of upstairs. You know, we've often seen that before. I saw the only man in the street, which was about 20, 30 yards down the road. So I then ran after him. He turned around, looked, and started running. I lost sight of him as he turned the corner. As I got round the corner, I just seemed to run straight into him.
Now piss off if you don't want some more.
I'd say the man was about 6 foot tall. He's in his late 20s, early 30s. He had short, curly, light brown or ginger hair. He also had a moustache, I think.
Tom Griffiths had been repeatedly kicked and beaten. He died within a few minutes. Well, Mr. Dixon, as I said earlier, Tom was killed for no reason that anyone can imagine. Have you any theories at all?
Well, the motive isn't clear because he did have property on his person which wasn't taken. His flat wasn't broken into. As you've seen from the film, I think perhaps his behaviour in the pub was the cause of it, or perhaps when he left the pub in the Cricklewood Broadway.
So it could be absolutely crucial that anyone in the Windmill pub that night, Friday the 28th of June, comes forward.
Yes, it is. That's a particularly busy area. There are a lot of Irish people. It may well be that they are not in the area now. They've returned home. I need to talk to anybody who may have seen anything in the pub or immediately outside.
And I know you feel that there could be around 30 people who haven't come forward yet, so please do call if you were there. Where do you think Tom went in the hour between 11:20 when he was seen outside the pub and the time he was found dying an hour later?
In the past, he's gone to late-night cafes or he's gone to dance halls or drinking clubs. He could even have gone off and had a drink with a casual acquaintance. I must emphasise that I'm trying to find anybody who can assist me with his movements in those hours.
Right, that's another thing. Now, when Paul chased the killer and rounded the corner to encounter the man who then punched him, that man presumably need not have been the killer. It might have been somebody different.
That's right, it may well not have been. You'll have seen from the film that he ran after him, turned left, and there was the man. It would seem strange if he was the killer that he would be so available. If that man has nothing to do with it, he may well have seen the killer. It's very important that I speak to him.
There's the artist's impression of him again. The killer left behind one very important clue.
Yes, he did. He left a footprint, and that footprint we know comes from a pony training shoe, size 11. That's one of a similar type, but of course it can be of many different colours.
It's quite a distinctive soul to it.
Yes, it is.
And as you say, that wouldn't have been multicoloured necessarily. It could have been any other colours.
Not necessarily, no.
Could we have a description of the man who we believe killed Tom?
He was in his late 20s, early 30s. He was about 6 foot tall. The only definite feature is he was wearing those trainer shoes. I need to speak to anybody who may have any knowledge of such a person, or particularly someone who wears those shoes at the period of June and isn't wearing them now.
Right, now remember that's a size 11. So we're going back 4 months here to the summer, Friday the 28th of June. If you can help, your information will be treated with absolute discretion. You can ring us here on 081 811 8181, or you can contact the Albany Street Police Station direct. The number there is 071 725 4212. That's 071 725 4212.
Now for this month's final reconstruction. Tracy Meade was 14 when she died. Why anyone should stab her is a mystery, and it's proving just as hard unravelling the last days of her life. It's in a tower block off the Harrow Road in London, near an area called Little Venice, but Tracy often spent the night with relatives not far away in Kensal Rise. Tracy had been playing truant. In fact, she'd barely been to school for months, and used to sit around with friends or wander through the streets of northwest London. Our reconstruction features actresses, but Tracy's real mother and other witnesses have also taken part.
Ah, good evening. Can I help you at all?
Yeah, I've come about my daughter. I'm really worried. I think she's gone missing.
What's your daughter's name, please?
It's Tracy Meade.
And how old is Tracy?
She's 14. She's never done anything like this before.
When was the last time you saw Tracy?
It's Monday evening. She spent the day up her nan's, that's 65 Lothrop Street. Her mates often went round there to call for her.
One of her friends had called on her the afternoon she disappeared.
You coming out? No, I can't. I've got to take Tanya down to Mum's later, so...
Well, you staying down here tonight?
No, I'm going to come back here later.
Tracy showed no sign that she planned anything unusual.
That's at Droop Street.
All right then, so I'm not there. Tracy was my best friend for about a year. She always had a happy smile on her face and was always joking and laughing about. We never really used to do much when we went out except go in each other's houses, watch videos or listen to music. All right then, I better go because my mum's got my dinner. Tracy said she'd knock back for me that night, but she never did, and that was the last time I see her.
Around 5:30, Tracy took her younger sister, Tanya, from their nan's house back to the Warwick estate to their mother's flat.
We're a pretty close family, and Tracy used to like staying at my sister's and my mum's, and she never did like my flat because we're stuck on the 6th floor.
Sounds lovely.
That night she just seemed her normal self, like nothing different about her, or not moody or anything like that. It was, you know, just her plain self, like she normally is every day.
Mum, I'm going to go into school tomorrow, so can I have some bus fare, please?
This is costing me a fortune.
In fact, as usual, Tracy didn't go to school next day, and so far as is known, when she disappeared, she only had her bus fare to her name.
Being the parent of a teenager, you've got to trust them. That's what I did with Tracy. I trusted her. I don't know what went wrong.
Right, what are you doing tonight?
I'm going to go and stay at Auntie Jackie's tonight.
I found out earlier today that she hadn't gone up my sister's that night like she said, and she hadn't gone to school the next day either. And I'm really worried.
Right, but let's get all the details down for a missing persons report.
Kim Meade wasn't satisfied that the police were acting with sufficient urgency, and 3 days after she'd last seen Tracy, she began to go searching through the neighbourhood in her own attempt to find out what had happened.
Have you seen her?
No. I went round all Tracy's friends and people who knew her, and then when I got back, I heard that a young girl had seen her on the Wednesday, the day I reported her missing. She said she saw Tracy underneath the Halfpenny Steps bridge near the Harrow Road, rowing with a boy who was a bit taller than Tracy and had fair hair. The bridge isn't far from where my mum lives.
Nearly 2 weeks after Tracy disappeared, a girl much like her was seen some 3 miles from her home.
Love. Yeah, if I keep going down that way, will I still be in Shepherd's Bush?
No, you're going towards Acton up there. What are you looking for?
Adam's Cafe.
Adams.
Yeah.
Have you looked in the markets?
I'm not sure where it is.
Well, there's loads of cafes up there. I'm walking up that way. Do you want to walk up there with me?
Yeah, okay then.
Okay,
Yeah.
come on.
I'm supposed to be meeting my boyfriend and his mates in Adam's Cafe.
Right, well, there's loads of cafes down there. I should start working your way around the outside.
Okay, then. Thanks for your help.
All right, hope you find him.
Bye.
If this wasn't Tracy, and you know who it might have been, do call us so that she could be eliminated from the inquiry. Three hours later, at 4:30 on Friday the 31st of January, 2 girls went into a cafe on the Goldhawk Road. Again, do you know who they were?
Eli, do you fancy pie mash? Yeah, ready for. Oh, you love it. Could I have 2 pie mash, please? Take away.
I do remember the 2 girls coming in. They looked as though they'd been sleeping rough. They was very clean and tidy, but very tired. The young girl who ordered the pie mash had black bobbed hair. She was very pretty looking, but also very young looking. The girl with blonde hair had something stuffed under her jacket, but I don't know what it was.
Next afternoon, on Saturday the 1st of February, Tracy's body was recovered from the Grand Union Canal near Kensal Rise. Tracy had drowned quite recently after being stabbed.
Colin Wright, what do you think happened?
Tracy was a streetwise kid. She had lots and lots of friends. I believe she went to that canal with somebody who she knew.
One person or perhaps a group of people?
No, I believe she would have gone there with a group. She was that sort of girl who surrounded herself with lots of friends.
Are you suggesting this wasn't a premeditated murder or even a spontaneous, deliberate attack, but maybe a prank that went wrong?
It's my own personal opinion, Nick, that she went there with a group of friends and things led on, and unfortunately Tracy ended in the canal. She was stabbed but drowned.
Now, the stab wounds were relatively superficial, weren't they? I mean, she either was pushed or stumbled into the
That could be, we'll never know.
It looked as though it was a sex attack, I gather. I mean, as though there was some sexual motive in as much as some of her clothes were found in one location and some in another, and she was only partly clothed.
She was partially clothed when she was found in the canal. I believe that was probably the motive. I believe that she may have gone there with a group of other children, and things progressed far more than she expected.
Now, you're suggesting there are going to be several kids who live in that area who know what happened or have heard gossip, heard talk about it.
I'm almost sure, my intuition leads me to believe that there's children out there, some of them who may be close friends, who know just what went on that night.
They may be very worried about ringing in, frankly.
They may well be, but I can assure them that I will treat them with discretion, I will treat them fairly, but I need to speak to them because they hold the clue to this murder.
You think you're going to find the answer in time from friends of hers, from people? Do you think it's going to come out, if not tonight, eventually you'll find out how this happened?
There are some people out there who must be worrying about this at the moment, and I know eventually one of them will come forward. I would prefer that to be now rather than later.
Now, there's this missing 2 weeks in Tracy's life. There she was saying that she'd be with her nan. That was about middle of January, and then she wasn't found until the very end of January, in fact the first day of February. You've no idea where she was at that time?
There's no suggestion, Nick, that she was kidnapped. She went away of her own volition. She wasn't distressed or upset. She was around the Harrow Road and Paddington area, and she'd been seen on a number of occasions. So we know she was living somewhere, but where that was, we've not found out.
Wherever she was staying, she might have left a T-shirt like this, because this is the T-shirt she was wearing when she left home.
That was a T-shirt, a similar T-shirt to this, a little bit dark,
not the one that she was found with when she died.
That's right.
Now, what about all these sightings of people? Are they red herrings? Do you want people to come forward and say, that was me, you can eliminate me from this inquiry, or are you pretty sure that they really were Tracy?
We're not too sure, and I don't think we will be sure until those people come forward, but the descriptions are so similar, we'd obviously like to trace those people, especially the young girl with the bob-type haircut who was seen in the pie and mash shop.
Oh, well, there she is. I mean, if that was you and you had nothing to do with Tracy, don't know her, please ring us. If you do know Tracy, that was you, do please ring us. There was a boy, of course, seen with her arguing, it seemed, under a bridge. Again, just could have been a friend of hers.
That's right, yes, just under the halfpenny steps there, a young boy aged about 16, blondish hair with a white baseball cap. Now, I'd like him to come forward, because that could also save us a lot of time.
OK, well, if you know anything about this whatsoever, do please call us now. Remember, you can speak to a BBC researcher if you want, rather than to a police officer. The number's there, 081 811 8181. Or you can call the Kensington Incident Room on 071 937 7945. 071 937 7945. Shown how effective targeted policing can be. It's not just a minor crime they're going after, as anyone who's had a break-in knows. In this case, though, it led to the most serious consequences of all. It's another tragic case where a knife has led to someone being killed.
Foxtrot TOA, 2nd Avenue. Got a man seriously injured. Need an ambulance on the hurry up, please.
That's very distinctive, you say, Scott.
Yes, sir. Seems to have left behind.
There appears to be some markings on the handle, sir.
Right, just back it up, Scott, and we'll look at it later, and we'll protect the tip. He was stabbed. I think you better see this.
Where was it?
inside the house. We haven't found the knife, but we're starting a wider search now. Scott, will you deal with that?
Yes, sir.
John Eden was 48, a floor tiler. He'd been divorced for 17 years and lived alone in Enfield in North London, close to one of his 2 daughters.
He used to brighten everyone's day up all the time because he was just so full of life and used to make everyone laugh all the time. He was never ever a sad man, and no matter what crowd he was put in, he would get on with everyone.
762.
Well, it's the biggest crowd and half.
He was just like a 23-year-old, really. Just used to have fun all the time. He lived each day for each day. He was the best dad in the world. Not just a dad, though, was he? He was my friend as well.
I was just driving round to John's to pick him up to go out for a drink.
I don't want to be too late, Jim, as it goes. I feel a bit knackered.
Yeah, I've got to be out early in the morning myself.
You have as well?
Upstairs, John's neighbours, Tina and Andy, were staying in and, ironically, were watching last month's programme.
Well, the phones have been very busy. We've had a number of calls on the murder of Don Herbert, some suggestions for who Dave may be, and also a suggestion for who the man wearing the red hat may be. In the Norfolk robbery, one...
But don't forget, we'll be back tonight with Crimewatch Update at 11:15. And if you can't stay up till then, please, don't have nightmares, do sleep well. Good night.
I'm gonna have a bath.
In the nightclub, he was laughing and joking, nothing out of the ordinary at all. Just an ordinary night out with all the boys and just having a drink and having a good time.
You set the alarm?
John normally stayed until the early hours, but he wanted an early night and was taken home by another friend of his soon after midnight.
Lovely, John. Right, so I'll give you a bell on Saturday, yeah?
Wherever you like, John, wherever you like, yeah.
Lovely. Thanks for the lift, all right?
Oh, no worries.
God bless.
OK, take care.
I heard a big bang from underneath our room. I caught a glimpse of a man wearing light-coloured clothing, light trousers and a light jacket, I think.
Please, please.
As I looked down the street,
I could see a car in the middle of a three-point turn. I just happened to glance down. I didn't recognise it as being John downstairs. Andy! Andy!
The police had traced John's call and arrived within 3 minutes.
John had been stabbed with a hunting knife. Mr. Chaplain, how serious is the risk for householders generally of this sort of thing?
Well, fortunately, most burglaries are committed in the daylight hours and not at night time. And fortunately, most burglars don't carry weapons like we've got in this case.
So, I mean, most of us fear burglaries at night, but it's during daylight hours that the big problem is.
That is when most of the burglaries are committed.
And this weapon, I mean, this is a replica of one that was used to kill John Eden. This was not an implement used to break in. I mean, this is a deliberate
this was
defensive or aggressive weapon.
Yes, that's right. It was carried by the person, I think, to actually effect his escape.
Now, you're not sure I know which colour handle it's got, but you're pretty sure it's one of these two knives. They're both from the same manufacturer.
That's correct, yes. One has a black handle and the other has an olive-coloured handle, both made in Spain by a manufacturer named Yiannoulla.
And one's got ALCE on it, LC, the other's got Müller on it. And, of course, you recovered the sheath that this came in. Here are the tools that he did use to get into the house, or they used. Not a lot of help, this bolster. It's not very distinctive, but this screwdriver really is. Tell us about this in the paintwork here.
Yes, it's an R&S 9-inch screwdriver with a red handle, but in the handle is burnt in by a soldering iron, we believe, the name Paul.
Paul? Yeah. Now, what do you know about the man?
We don't know anything about this screwdriver apart from the fact that it's got white paint on it. But what we're looking to do is connect the items all together with a team of professional burglars that are operating in North London.
You think these are sort of jobbing burglars? This wasn't a one-off?
No, we think they are actually a team of burglars that are actually operating together.
OK, the car that they might have made off in could have been entirely innocent, of course, the one doing a three-point turn.
That's right. It could have been parked there by somebody unconnected. It's a large silver-coloured or light-coloured car, modern in shape with rounded corners.
OK. This was a very, very vicious crime, apart from the fact there was obviously one resulting in death, because there were 5, 6, 7 or 8, I think, stab wounds altogether. If you can help, please call the studio now. This is the free call number 0500 600 600. If you prefer, you can ring detectives at the incident room in Edmonton. They're on 0181 345 4361. That's 0181 345 4361. Callously and tightly tied up for a week and a half to die. It started on, of all times, Christmas Day, when crime is almost non-existent. Yet 2 break-ins happened within a few yards of each other off the High Street in London's Camden town.
Oh, this is great. There we go. Did you make it yourself, Kat?
That's the camera set up.
Looks beautiful.
Face the camera.
Oh, right, yeah. Right. Thinks he's a court photographer. How are we looking?
Alan Holmes lived by himself on Parkway, one of the main roads through Camden. He'd moved over from Northern Ireland 32 years ago and worked as a garage attendant at Kentish Town Police Station. He was a private man, but had lots of friends, including the Horgan family, at whose house he spent Christmas.
For you.
Want some milk, Billy?
Oh, you're embarrassing me. I didn't know we were giving presents.
Don't be so silly.
Look, I'll open it later, all right?
Yeah, go on, open it now.
Let's see what we've got then. Great. Thanks.
So bloody cold in your place.
At 11:10 on Christmas night in Camden High Street, around the corner from Alan's flat.
I think you better get that in the Collins. The front door's out, feels been a breaking.
UK receiving 809.
Leave that for now. Take Alan home first, do it when we get back.
Oh, okay.
Oh?
There's a guy inside, I think. You take the left, I'll take the right.
There you go, Neil. You there?
Yeah. I've got him. I've got him. Somebody at the back. I can hear them.
You all right?
Yeah, I've got him.
A helicopter was called in with thermal imaging equipment to scan the rooftops, but the burglar wasn't found.
This'll do fine.
We'll take you to the door.
No, honestly, I need a walk after all that food. Good night, pet.
Oh, good night. Happy Christmas, Alan.
Merry Christmas to both of you.
Yes.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye.
What?
I remember this man because he seemed to have tried about 4 or 5 times to get money out, as if he was trying different numbers. He was very calm about it, despite it taking a couple of minutes. I'd say he was about 22 to 25, 6'1", slim athletic build with short cropped hair, a number 2 cut. He wore a light grey hooded top, like a sweatshirt type, and blue denim jeans, and he was wearing sand-coloured Timberland boots.
He was always out and about, so it wasn't unusual for him not to be there. Just the idea of him suffering when I was trying to contact him, it seemed so cruel. It's something I think it'll haunt me for the rest of my days.
At the Shell building on the South Bank in London, Alan's card was used in the Lloyd's cash till 7 times.
No, any sign up in the windows?
No sign. He's on the 2nd and 3rd floors.
I think I'll get long enough. Let's put the door in.
Yeah.
Open here.
He's alive.
Echo Kilo, Echo Kilo.
Don't worry.
Ambulance, please.
I just couldn't bear the idea that he wouldn't pull through. But I'm afraid he died the following morning at 11 o'clock. I lost not only my brother, but my dearest friend. We were very close.
The horror of how Alan died is frankly not suitable for broadcast. John Yates, perhaps we should make it clear, first of all, that when there was the break-in at Cullen's, the supermarket, and one man was arrested there, you're pretty sure that he had absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with this murder?
That's correct. He's been completely eliminated from the murder inquiry. Yes.
So the one sort of burglary was happening and someone else was in looting as well, and had then sort of escaped round the back. And why did they choose Alan's flat?
Well, it was the only occupied flat in that block. The block's been redeveloped at the moment, and that was the only flat that was occupied.
Now, how can our viewers help? What can they do?
Well, there's a number of areas that we're looking for help. First is the man who you saw on the film who drew the police's attention to the burglary. He may not know it, but he may have some very useful information that could help this inquiry. Just to quickly reiterate, he's a man in his mid to late 20s, wearing a brown leather jacket. He wore a red top and he had a scarf, and he was there around about 11:15 on Christmas night.
OK, now he was helping. We're not
He was helping, absolutely,
he's in any way
yes.
involved in this.
Absolutely right.
OK. Now, beyond that, what time could people have seen the man who actually did it? What time would he have left Alan's flat?
Well, we're looking for anybody who was round about the Camden Town tube station area in the late evening of Christmas Day and the early hours of Boxing Day, right up until the tube station opened around about 8 a.m. that morning.
This link with the South Bank and the Shell Centre, where he was using the Lloyd's cash till, do you see any link there? Is that significant?
We're looking for help in shedding some light on this link between the Shell Centre on the South Bank, next to Waterloo Station. Does our individual live there? Does he travel or work there? There's definitely a link between the South Bank and Camden Town. We're looking for help to shed some light on that.
What was taken apart from his wallet, his cards?
We have some silver photo frames. I emphasise the picture you see is a computer-generated enhancement. It's not an exact one. And they're about 5 inches by 4 inches. There's 2 of them. They've been in the family for some generations. Have you bought these, or have you been offered them and bought them unwittingly?
OK, they'd be over 100 years old then.
They would be, yeah.
Presumably he wouldn't have kept this to himself, or would he? What do you think?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's an appalling crime. It's difficult to imagine the dreadful circumstances in which Alan died. And I've just asked finally to people to focus on this point. Alan was tied up for 10 days, and during that 10 days, his bank account was milked of approaching £1,000. It's inconceivable, I think, that the man or the individual responsible hasn't boasted or bragged about this to his friends, his family, or even his associates. We want their help now in bringing this man to justice.
John, thank you very much. Please don't hesitate to call if you can help. Here's our number in the studio, 0500 600 600. That's a free call number. Please don't let this dreadful crime go unresolved. Here's the incident room number if you prefer to call that. That's on 0181 733 6257. 0181 733 6257.
Raymond. And because of Raymond's frailty, he cared for him really like a father. Raymond almost never ventured out, and even George rarely left their home in Kilburn, North London, except for visits to the shops and to the laundrette. A month ago, on one such trip, George was murdered. Raymond can only speak with difficulty, and so his older brother Eric joined him to help relate the story. Our reconstruction starts on the day of the killing, Thursday, July the 31st.
Where did I see that film? Oh, George?
Yes?
Is this the one you wanted, huh?
Yes, that's it. 8:30.
8:30, that's right. It's a Western. I like a good Western. Very good.
Ah, this is the book I've been looking for. Have you been messing them about?
Oh, me? No. I never touch you.
They did definitely lead a quiet life, the pair of them together. They had their own ways, and that was it.
In fact, the two brothers had a very familiar routine.
Have you any laundry for me?
At about 3 o'clock every Thursday afternoon, George would take their washing to the laundrette and always put it through 2 cycles.
That's all.
When we passed by the laundrette, I just looked in, like you always do when you pass by a window.
What kind of ice cream would you like?
2 men were standing in there, talking, normally.
There you go, it's yours.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Come on, darling.
mate started cooking dinner about 3 o'clock, 3:15.
Can you go?
When I passed through the door, the two men were standing talking. The younger man was leaning quite relaxed against the washing machine and didn't really take any notice because I thought they were friends or know each other.
Hello? Hello, Mom? Hi, it's me. How are you? Yeah?
Nice, calm voices like father and son having a talk or a nephew. Like, yeah, a close friend.
Get off!
The two men on the floor, the younger one on top and the older one on the floor.
Mum, I'm going to have to go. I think there's a fight.
Get off!
You get trapped somewhere where you can't run and you don't want a child to get hurt. When I'm rushing out, I bash my son's head on the washing machine. The younger man turns around and looks straight at me.
He was 25 to 35 years old, between 5 feet 10 and 6 feet tall. He had dark brown hair tied back in a ponytail.
Quick! There's a fight in the laundrette.
So I thought I could go and stop a fight. So I walked to the laundrette to find out what was happening. And as I got to the window of the laundrette, a guy came out of the laundrette, knife in hand. As I dropped my hands, he ran.
He just come out of nowhere. He was that close, I could have just put my foot out and he would have went over. But at the time, I didn't know that he'd done anything.
Saw a guy lying on the floor, ran back into the shop to find the police.
Right, there's been a fight in the laundrette, two guys. The laundrette's on the corner of Donaldson Road and Lonsdale Road.
It was late coming back, and it was getting later. You start getting worried, waiting for the door to open.
I felt anger and sadness to know that that's where we come to die, you know. And the guy that done it just ran right past me and, you know, he's a murderer.
I've seen a tall guy in a long ponytail in a grey T-shirt and tracksuit bottoms, running really fast.
He's just run past me.
Which way?
Over there.
By the time I got round the bends and looked down the road, I didn't see anyone. And at that point, I just turned and kind of took my time and walked back looking because the girl said he had a knife, so I was just looking and just in case he dropped it or anything like that.
Well, no, I can't see. No, hold on, yeah, I can see him here now. All right, okay, bye.
Quebec Kilo receiving 468. Yeah, we've got an elderly male. He's been stabbed.
I can't believe he's gone, you know. It was my saviour.
Well, Chris Watt, you believe there was no motive, no theft involved at all, a brutal killing of a defenceless old man, really. Now, you're appealing for a number of witnesses, I know. Crucially, the lady that was seen in that reconstruction with the small child, you haven't managed to trace her, have you?
No, I haven't at the present time. The route the attacker took was to run down Esmond Road and past this lady, and then into Charteris Road, where he disappears. What I need to do is to trace this woman for her to be able to give me additional information.
As to where he went after that?
That's right. She's described as being about 5'6" tall, fairish blonde hair, wearing a dark long coat, and she had a small child with her, probably 4 or 5 years old, and perhaps a little girl.
Well, hopefully she will know who she is.
Hopefully, and she will
Tonight.
contact the incident room if possible.
Now remind us again what the attacker looked like.
The attacker was a white man, and some witnesses describing as having a Mediterranean appearance. He is between 5'10" and 6 foot tall, and has a distinctive brown hair in a ponytail, swept back behind his head. He also was wearing a grey T-shirt and grey jogging bottoms.
What do you know about the knife that he was carrying?
I have no full description of the knife. Certainly the knife was over 3 inches long.
Now, he would have had blood on him, surely.
It is believed he had blood on the knife and on his hand. He may well have had it on his clothing, and he may well have gone home that night, changed his clothing, changed his appearance. He may even have cut his ponytail off. Somebody may well have seen that and now remembers it.
Do you think he was local?
It was a day that was raining, Thursday the 31st of July, had heavy rain that day, and witnesses describe him as being dry. Now, where did he go to in that time between midday and the time of the attack?
So he
I'd
didn't
like
have
to
a
know.
raincoat. He might have been staying with someone perhaps nearby.
He may have been staying, he may even have been visiting.
Any other witnesses you're appealing to?
Anybody who was in the area on that day and who may have seen this man or who visited the laundrette.
Chris Watt, thank you very much indeed. Can you piece all those elements together? It's a tragic and, as we said, apparently a motiveless crime, the killing of an elderly gentleman who appeared to have no enemies in the world. If you think you can help us, please call us here, 0500 600 600, or the Metropolitan Police on 0181 358 1751. That's 0181 358 1751. Street crime in Highbury, North London, and its target was a young family. Ricky Smith, his partner Anita, and their children Michaela and Paul. Ricky was a flooring contractor working with his father. On Friday night, October the 3rd, he'd just been paid for a job they'd completed, and his dad dropped him back home.
I had a job at Holloway paid up today, 600 quid. So how much do I owe you for that seal?
50 quid.
There's 560 there. You take it out of that, put the rest aside.
You're going to be in that house by Christmas at this rate.
Yeah, I hope so.
Oh, don't forget, early start in the morning. So don't go stopping out late tonight.
Right. All right. See you in the morning.
See ya.
All right, love. There you go. Treat yourself.
Where'd that come from?
Oh, I just got paid. Hey, do you want to go down to the pub later tonight?
I haven't got a babysitter.
Well, I'll call Chanel, ask her to come over.
All right.
Well, everyone used to say Ricky was like an old-fashioned man. He said we'd get married when we were about 30. And he was just a really good father. He just believed that if you have children, you stay with them.
You're going to be a really good boy for Mummy and Daddy. Now, I want you to go to sleep straight away, okay? Good boy.
Night-night. And Ricky wanted to buy a nurse, so we could bring the kids up somewhere decent.
All right. How about a lager and a brown eco, please?
Found yourself a house, yeah?
Yeah, well, there's a couple we're having a look at.
Oh, yeah? What, around here?
Yeah, Holloway, we're looking.
Good stuff, good stuff. How many rooms are you looking for?
For 3?
What about a garden?
It'd be nice, but...
Well, yeah, a garden.
Yeah, well, it'd be very nice, but it depends how it goes, you know.
Yeah?
What comes up.
Time, ladies and gentlemen, please.
Right, where are we going next then?
Home. It's supposed to be saving, remember? And you've got to be up early in the morning.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, come on then.
Come on.
At 11:30 that Friday night, a woman was heading home down Highbury Park towards Blackstock Road.
Well, I noticed him first of all because he was just standing in such a strange way in the phone box, and also he looked like he was definitely trying to hide his face away from me. He was about 6 foot tall. He was quite well built, but I just couldn't see his face.
Take that. Oh! He stabbed me.
Hello, police. Just seen a man get attacked. I'm following the bloke who did it. He's running up Highbury Grove.
He was jogging away quite casually, and that sort of caught my attention because it was very strange. He didn't seem to be sprinting away or anything like that. But I still followed him, and he cut across into Albert Park, at which point I had to turn my car around, and he just seemed to disappear. I couldn't find him after that.
I've just lost him. He's run down one of the streets.
Oh my God!
It's just something I never expected in my life. Help! My mind went blank. I can't believe it. I always thought it'd be here.
The attacker ran from Highbury Grove down Avenel Road next to the Arsenal football ground, then down Conewood Street. He was last seen running back into Blackstock Road.
All right, we've got an ambulance here. Hang on, we've got an ambulance. Excuse me, gentlemen.
We got a phone call and we both dashed out. He was in the ambulance being worked on, but he was. They said you can't see him in the ambulance because he was pretty bad.
Appears to have red stripes on his jacket. IC code unknown. Over.
For someone to just come up, creep up and do that is madness.
Right, sir, did you see anyone at all?
It's destroyed us. Destroyed Paul's future, Michaela's future, Nita's future, ours. It's ruined everything. And it's all been for no reason. It's been done for nothing. Someone's gone and murdered him for nothing.
Is that yours?
No, that's strange.
Oh, hang on here, I'll just go and get a torch.
Seems to be some sort of clothing.
Settled about it.
Hi, have you found the bag?
Yeah, we gave it to the police last night.
Only when I was walking home last night, I saw someone throw it over your wall. Do you know what was in it?
Well, there was a cap and a jacket. It's to do with that stabbing up the road.
All right. Cheers.
I remember he was well-spoken and he was in his mid to late 20s, about 5'7" tall, and he was carrying a black and grey rucksack.
What a dreadful crime. Chris, what, do you think that man could have been the killer?
I don't believe he was the attacker. He may have been an accomplice. If he wasn't, he's a man I need to see because he's an important witness and I need to speak to him.
Now, what most people sitting at home watching tonight's programme are probably thinking is why it seemed to be apparently motiveless.
From the inquiries that I've made and the investigations that I've conducted, it does appear at the present time to be totally motiveless.
But do you think that perhaps Ricky had something in his life that perhaps had provoked a revenge attack in some way?
That might have happened, but I don't know. I'd ask people, if they do know, to come and speak to me.
Anything about Ricky's life
Yes,
that might
indeed.
be of interest. Now, what do you know about the man who committed the crime?
I can give you a description. He's a coloured male. He's 6 foot tall, 18 to 30 years old.
Which isn't particularly helpful, is it really?
No, but linked with the clothing, it might help.
Yes, well, tell us a bit more about the clothing
The
here.
attacker was wearing a dark blue Chicago Bulls jacket with red and white stripes with a distinctive picture of a bull on it. The cap was a dark blue Reebok cap.
And it was put in these carrier bags. Now, the Brent Cross Phoenix is a very common one in that area,
Indeed.
but the one that interests you as well is the other green one.
Yes, the green one is a Wilkie's carrier bag, which is a Scottish retailer's, and as far as I'm aware, only retails in Scotland.
Now, why do you think that he dumped them in Conewood Street that night?
He may well have panicked in his attempt to escape, and that was a place that he could hide them and perhaps come back later and retrieve them.
Now, an event that might jog people's memory is the fact that it was the eve of the Arsenal home game against Barnsley.
That's
right?
correct, yes indeed.
So it's Friday the 3rd of October. Now, you've got some important clues here, but what about the knife that he used? Have you recovered that?
I've now recovered the knife, and that's an 8.5-inch long lock knife with a 3.5-inch blade. On it is a price tag. Now, the price tag reads $9.95.
Now, again, we've had a number of cases tonight in which there are rewards. There's a reward here, isn't
There's
there?
a substantial reward of £10,000 in this case upon conviction.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Crystal. Thank you. Well, Ricky left behind a partner, 2 young children, a tragic, tragic crime. 0500 600 600. If you've heard anything, please call us right away. And other detectives are waiting for you right now as well on 0181 733 6283. That's 0181 733 6283.
To the murder of a tourist, Maria Wodiansky from Stockholm, had been in London for less than 2 hours before she was killed in an arbitrary robbery. This is an appeal to the killer himself, to his friends and relatives, and to a London cabby who couldn't possibly have realised what his passenger had done.
We will soon be arriving at Paddington Station, which is an excellent gateway to London. We hope you've enjoyed your journey with us on Heathrow Express today. Thank you for travelling with us this afternoon, and we wish you a safe and pleasant onward journey. Welcome to London.
I wish we could take the train straight to the apartment. Hey, Andre.
And then a number 10 to the flat. And according to the guidebooks, we'll be passing the Albert Memorial on the way.
Who's Albert? Someone who never had to shoot back up the platform. She just raised
The family was staying near the Royal Albert Hall, and having taken a bus to Kensington Church Street, they walked into Kensington High Street to catch a number 10 towards Knightsbridge.
When the family got on, they were holding the whole bus up with an enormous amount of luggage. And the bus conductress got very upset.
Fred, I'm going to have to ask you to put those in the luggage rack so you'll cause an obstruction.
Well, we're only going a couple of stops.
Doesn't really matter, I'm afraid.
I knew you bought too many things.
You're nearly there, don't worry.
Shall I take this?
If you don't mind.
I do distinctly remember seeing him and saying, well, that's an extraordinary handsome chap. He had close-cropped Afro-type hair and a fairly tanned, dark skin. He had this sort of aquiline features. He was just staring straight ahead of himself. He didn't look at anybody in the eyes.
Andre, look! Over there, see? The memorial, that's Albert's.
Just after the Albert Memorial, at the junction with Exhibition Road, with the conductor upstairs, an attempted handbag snatch.
Her head went the most awful crack on the road.
Did you see what that man just did?
I jumped off. A van came along. I thought, my God, he's going to hit her. I could see him running across the road. And I thought, well, if I can get round the corner, he can't go running at that speed indefinitely, and maybe I can keep this up for a bit longer. There were two people there standing on the corner, and they said, are you chasing somebody? I said, yes. Where is he? Oh, he's getting into that taxi.
5:25, Saturday the 27th of March. Who picked up this fare, now heading south down Exhibition Road?
He was tall. I should think he was over 6 feet. He was slender. He had a sort of broad forehead, fairly high cheekbones, and an aquiline nose.
Well, David Shipley, a tragic situation. Now, this was a busy Saturday afternoon in central London, lots of shoppers and tourists obviously around. Do you believe that all the witnesses you need have come forward? You probably don't.
No, I don't, actually. I do know that the number 10 bus that afternoon was extremely busy, very full of people, and only a few people have come forward so far. I would like to take this opportunity to appeal to passengers on the bus that day to either contact the studio here this evening or the incident room at Paddington Green Police Station.
Right, now, what would people have noticed about this man who committed this awful attack?
Well, we're not entirely sure where he actually got onto the bus, but we think it may have been outside the Royal Garden Hotel in Kensington Road. What we do know is that he travelled standing or sitting next to the victim on the lower deck of the bus when it travelled east along Kensington Road. He's a light-skinned black man, possibly of mixed race, maybe North African extraction. He's about 6 foot in height and slim build, aged about 30 perhaps to 35 years of age. He had very close cropped black hair. He was smartly dressed according to witnesses, possibly in brown clothing, maybe even a suit. And what may be significant is that on the right side of his face there may be a mole or a skin growth to the right of his right eye.
That's a very distinctive description, and as we heard from one witness, he was a good-looking man.
Apparently he was.
Now, when he ran away from the incident, remind us of the route that he took.
Yes, he jumped off the bus and ran back along Kensington Road. He was chased by a passenger from the bus. He was seen to turn left into Exhibition Road. He passed two members of the public on the pavement, two men in their 40s, Mediterranean appearance, who saw him apparently get into a black taxicab in Exhibition Road, which then drove south towards Cromwell Road.
So crucially, those three witnesses are very essential to trace, aren't they? Those two men that were standing on the corner of the road.
Yes.
You haven't managed to track them down yet. And essentially the black cabbie, because he would know where he'd taken the chap.
He would. The black cabbie is of vital importance to us. I'm positive he can further our investigation.
So, bearing in mind, maybe a memory jogger, England were playing Poland at Wembley, I think,
they
that
were,
day, weren't they?
yes.
You might have been listening to it on the radio.
Yes, possibly.
And a man got in very flustered, presumably.
Very flustered. He'd run some distance and very fast, so he would have drawn attention to himself.
About 5:20 to 5:30 on
right.
Saturday, March the 27th. Thank you. 0500 600 600. That's live to detectives here in the studio, and it's a free call. And there are more detectives waiting on 0171 321 9640. That's 0171 321 9640.
More specifically, one that happened back in 1982. On a summer's day just off the Finchley Road in Swiss Cottage in London, a 17-year-old was murdered, killed in her own home. It caused a sensation at the time, and many people locally will still remember the victim's name, Yiannoulla Yianni. The murder was never solved, but now, with new forensic evidence, tonight, it just might be.
Yiannoulla had just left school and was waiting for her exam results. She and her mother used to take lunch to her father, who ran the local cobbler's shop. They were Greek Cypriots, a close family, but fairly strict, and Yiannoulla rarely went out on her own. Instead, life revolved around the family home in Belsize Road, and this is Yiannoulla dancing with the family 18 years ago. Only once was there any hint of trouble, one evening when they'd gone out for a walk.
We were followed once by this, from what I remember, of a Mediterranean-looking fellow. We were out for a walk with my mum, and we noticed him following us from Finchley Road.
Oh, that's very good. Yeah, that's really good.
Ella.
Maria, I think he fancies you.
How do you know? Well, maybe he likes Yiannoulla.
Oh, I think he's very good.
Do you think he'll come back next week?
Oh, darling, I think it's too expensive.
Oh, but it really...
Oh, here he is again. He just waved. What a weirdo.
Oh, no. Look, he's here again. No, come on, girls. We go home.
Mum, what are you scared of? There's three of us.
No, I don't like it. No, come on, we go home now.
What's going on?
August 18 years ago, and this is how he may have aged. Maybe there was an innocent reason for his interest in the family, or maybe not. Who is he?
The day Yiannoulla died was actually Friday the 13th. She'd just gone to my dad's shop to take him some lunch.
Meals on Wheels for Mr. Yianni.
Oh, so much work.
Okay.
Why you don't close the shop and finish what you're doing? Yiannoulla, you go and put the dinner on in the oven, okay, darling? I stay here and help your daddy. He needs me.
Okay. See you later, Dad.
And that's the last they saw of her, because then she just literally walked out the shop, round the corner, back to our house, which was probably not more than 4 or 5 minute walk.
Later that Friday lunchtime, a neighbour saw a man turn into her own front path. Then, as he realised his mistake, he went next door to the Yiannis. The family always answered the bell by looking to see who was there. So if Yiannoulla let the visitor in, there's a big chance she knew him. She certainly seemed to like him. A local man who'd always rather fancied Yiannoulla from afar saw Yiannoulla smiling at the visitor. He remembers it clearly because he wished she'd been smiling at him. It wasn't more than 20 minutes later when the parents came back to the house.
They called her. They said, we're home, and there was no answer. Mum went upstairs into the bedroom. That's where she found her on the bed. I remember her saying that she'd picked her up and she was crying and her head just dropped. I don't think it's true what they say that time is a great healer, because for me it's literally like we're way back there 18 years ago, day one.
Hello? I'd never seen my parents like that. I mean, my father, who was very strong. It killed him off, it finished him.
As a parent myself of two girls, I sometimes wonder how on earth I would be able to deal with something like that, and for a child of mine to die in such a way. I mean, she did die a horrific death.
Yiannoulla had struggled with her attacker, had tried to run upstairs, but had been caught and raped and strangled.
To catch him, though, would I think, bring a peace, because it's finished. There's something there that hasn't finished, and hopefully we'll get him this time, and then we can close the chapter.
So, David, your appeal is very simple. Anyone who was interviewed by police 18 years ago on
Yes,
this?
any person who either spoke to police or gave fingerprints for elimination purposes. And that would include people from Kingston School, the local Greek dance class in Camden Road, and Woolworth's Finsbury Road, where she worked part-time.
Or perhaps anybody who's heard anything since?
Yes, any information. It's 18 years since this crime. It's quite possible the killer has confided in somebody else. I would appeal for that person to come forward.
And what about anybody who knew Yiannoulla but hasn't been interviewed by the police?
Anybody who's got information.
Anyone at all who's got any information at all and who knew her?
Yes, that's quite correct, yes.
Now, the guy who was following them, I know it's a very long shot, because actually that was several weeks, if not months, before the attack, but he was rather similar to the guy who was seen at the front door. Very short. 5'4", 5'6". 5'4", yeah, 5'6".
That's right, yeah. 20 to 24, Mediterranean appearance.
So he'd now be 38 to 42. Yeah. I should say that aging we showed was done with the National Missing Persons Helpline, who've got tremendous expertise in that. If you think you know who that is, or you can help in any other way, or were interviewed at the time, call us now. It's a free call number, 0500 600 600, or the instant room 020 8358 1777. And if you want to give information anonymously on this, or indeed on any other crime, call Crime Stoppers 0800 555 111. And almost all murders are eventually solved, well over 90% in fact. After all, there's usually a motive, and that usually leads to a suspect. But what if there's no reasonable motive, just a senseless killing? A year ago there was a ghastly stabbing in North London. Several boys were involved, and they may well have told many of their friends. Tonight we hope just one of those friends, or perhaps a relative, will have just a bit of decency and tell us who they were.
Allow, man, allow.
Every day we think him, and every single minute we remember him. All the family died with him.
A Tuesday afternoon, almost exactly a year ago, in Haringey, North London, and a 16-year-old was heading for Stoke Newington. Tangor Gokkusu was coming home from college.
He loved computers. He was planning to finish college, maybe go to university. He wanted to study and make something of himself. He was a Galatasaray fanatic. He loved football. He would always wear his Galatasaray jacket. Whatever he could find to do with Galatasaray, he would be wearing it. And he wore it on the day that he was stabbed.
The bus was busy, the 141 heading south. We want to hear tonight from anyone at all who was up on the top deck. Tangor's stop is on Green Lanes, near the Reservoir and Lordship Park.
Oi, Tango! What are you doing? Coming back from college, innit? Excellent. Layers, yeah?
What's happening?
Allow, man, allow.
We don't think that he had any enemies. Boys will be boys. They'd argue as well with friends and whatever, but no one that would do such a thing that's happened to Tangor.
Tangor's jugular had been severed. The boys ran away up Green Lanes towards Armwell Court Estate. They were in their teens and of Mediterranean appearance. Maybe they don't live there and were heading further south, but simply got off for the stabbing.
We still do not know what the motive is. A year on, why he was killed. What was he killed for? We do not know.
I remember Tangor always, his voice, he's always talked to me. I missed him.
Come on, let's solve this tonight. I bet you there are people watching now who know who did it. And we've some idea who was involved, but we need people to come forward. Did those three mean to kill him, or did they just mean to mark him? If any of those boys weren't actually involved in the stabbing, well, if they come forward, they certainly won't be charged with Tangor's murder. Please, whatever you know, help resolve this. 0500 600 600 or 020 8358 1737. Hardest crimes to solve are where there seems to be no motive, and nobody can understand what happened to Michael Cabey.
Never dreamt in a million years that my son would have been taken away from me.
It happened in Clapton in East London on a summer's Sunday afternoon. But why Michael Cabey?
It's what happened last night, man. Where was you last night?
Michael had never been in trouble. He'd started as a professional footballer and after an injury took a job at Sainsbury's. Each Sunday he and his mates would meet at the corner of Northwold Road and Rossington Street and sit around and chat.
They talk about girls, they talk about football. They just sit there and have a good old laugh. They've been doing that from ever since I can remember.
If what happened next was planned, well, it wouldn't be hard to find Michael. He and his mates always sat on the same wall. They noticed a dark-coloured Ford Fiesta, which was driving back and forth.
There's a car again, man. Look. What's going on?
Eventually, it turned into Rossington Street, and the passenger looked straight at Michael.
Do you know him? Do you know him?
Michael was hit 4 times and died at the scene. The gun was a black-coloured automatic with a red light shining from it. The dark Fiesta turned and drove back past Michael and his friends. The registration was R160 ULD. What happened next adds a bizarre twist to the murder. As Michael lay dying, a woman stole his mobile phone.
I had 2 lovely kids, 2 wonderful kids, and my son is not here. It's a tragedy for me, knowing that my son was a respectable person and a loving person, and what a waste of my son's life.
Julian, he did seem to be respectable. This was more than a tragedy. I mean, it remains a real mystery to you.
It does indeed. On the face of it, it's got all the hallmarks of being a gangland organised killing, but Michael, as far as we're aware, was not involved in anything of that nature. We've got no idea why this murder took place.
This car that was involved, this Ford Fiesta R160 ULD, now you know quite a bit about that car. It's not been stolen.
No, it's not stolen as far as we can gather. The car was seen indeed the day later in Stoke Newington area, and all the information we have is that the car may well still be around. It may be outside someone's house or in a garage.
It seems to be a sort of pool car used by lots of people, probably uninsured, and just sort of shared out among people.
Yeah, shared out amongst various gangs of youths and used for whatever purpose they...
I'm not sure what colour it is, dark green, dark blue, black, something like that. Dark coloured Ford Fiesta R160ULD. Now, we've got something wrong in that reconstruction, because we since know that the one we thought might have stolen that mobile phone was actually handed it by one of the witnesses. Now, just tell us what happened.
At the time of the incident, a white woman came to help and picked up the mobile phone. She was approached by a black lady that we saw in the film clip and was asked for the phone, and the white woman indeed asked her if she was a friend of Michael's, to which she said she was. So she handed over the phone in good faith.
Now, we've no reason to believe she was involved with any crime, so, but you badly need to talk to her. Why?
Well, the phone may well lead us, give us vital evidence. I'm not looking at this lady in any way in a criminal way at all. I just wanted her to return the mobile phone in order we can investigate this murder.
You are so concerned about it. The Metropolitan Police itself has put up a reward. Tell us about that.
Yes, the Metropolitan Police has put up £10,000 reward for information leading to the arrest of the people responsible. It's quite a substantial sum of money. I think for the way this murder took place, and in particular the putting the gun on the side, it's
rather amateurish on the side, macho but amateurish.
I think people will talk about this, and if these people are talking about this murder, then I would like to hear about it.
OK, well, someone watching must know what this is about. Please don't hope someone else is going to call in a ring. If you suspect or you know anything about this, please give us a ring. And remember that £10,000 reward. And where is that Ford Fiesta R160ULD? Is it outside your home? Call here or call the incident room on 020 8 785 8056.
Think they look really good.
Yeah.
They really suit you. Let's see how they go with that top you got.
Hi, Bob. How are you?
Hiya, Gav. How are you?
Not so good, actually. Life's a bit poxy at the moment. You two been shopping then?
Yeah, over at the market. What do you think?
Yeah, very nice. Can I have a bite of your burger?
No, you can't. You can have one on me, though.
Oh, nice one. Thanks, Julie. A cheeseburger, please.
Oi, wait you two, I've been chewing here for ages. Can I have a large Big Mac meal with a Coke?
We're off. You coming?
Yeah.
You should learn some manners.
What are you talking about? There wasn't a queue.
Yeah, there was, and you jumped it.
Get lost, will you?
Hey, you can't talk to me like that.
But what exactly is your problem?
What, are you trying to bully me? That's what you get off on, is it? I'll phone the police.
You're going to call the police just because I got served before you? Oh, get a life. Oh, you got a knife in your bag? You going to put a knife out on me, are you?
No, I'm getting my phone.
Gavin, leave it, babe. It's not worth it.
You're pathetic, you are.
I'll get lost.
You bloody idiots.
Oh, I'm behind you girls. Go
yeah,
on.
you bloody idiots.
What was that all about?
He tried to jump the queue and I wasn't having it. Anyway, what was I supposed to do? I just put in my order and everything. So what have you two been up to recently? Apart from shopping. See Jay?
Out for a few drinks? Yeah.
How is he?
Yeah, he's all right.
Give me my change. Come on, give me the change.
Did you? Did you Jay Camden?
Yeah. And his mate Trevor.
Oh, yeah.
You Trevor, don't you?
I do. Come on, stupid. You know, someone said the other day that I make a great policeman.
I should do a lot of work on you to pass you off as a policeman. Security guard, maybe, but not a policeman.
Oh, chic. I reckon I'd make a great policeman. I've been stabbed. Call an ambulance!
Call an ambulance! Someone call an ambulance! You're stabbed!
It was only afterwards I realised that at that point, I wasn't very far away. I went to Holloway and went to church, and when I came out of church, which was about a half an hour before the incident happened, I was just 200 yards away from the point where he died.
Help me. Call an ambulance.
Oh, jeez.
Julie, I'm dying.
Gavin, can you hear me? Talk to me, Gavin. Talk to me. Can you hear me?
Hi, mate. Okay. What's your name?
Can you hear me?
Holloway, ambulance message.
The last time I saw Gavin was 10 days, on a Wednesday night, 10 days before this thing happened. I'd just like to know why, whoever did this to Gavin, you know, why did they just come along and stab him in the back for no reason?
DCI Martin Lee's in charge of the case, and this really was a killing over nothing, wasn't it?
It certainly seems that way. There were very few people in McDonald's, as we can see on the reconstruction and from the CCTV. There doesn't appear to be any reason for this assault at all.
I mean, there really was no queue. I was just, the whole thing looked completely absurd.
Absolutely.
But we could see him on CCTV. He's relatively short, about 5'6". What else can you tell us about him?
We can. He's about 5'6" tall. He's around 30 years old. He's got a Mediterranean or dark-skinned appearance, perhaps Mediterranean or Kosovan or something like it. We know that he's of medium build and he wears this very distinctive beanie woolly hat with a distinctive motif on the back of it.
He had a little goatee beard, and he carried a 10 or 12-inch knife. He didn't run off to get this.
That's right.
This is something he habitually carries.
He carried the knife, it would seem, in the backpack with an Adidas logo on it that he had on his back. And yes, he was prepared to produce that knife and use it.
So a guy with an incredibly short fuse and an incredibly big knife is a very, very real danger to the community right now.
Yes.
Presumably when he went home, I mean, he doesn't kill every few minutes, one hopes, so he would have been very agitated. This is a month ago on a Sunday lunchtime.
That's right. We think he was probably local because he ran away, and I think he knew where he was running. So he'll have got home perhaps to a partner or a friend or a relative in a very agitated state, perhaps sweating, with an excuse for why he was in that condition.
Well, there've got to be people in North London who can put a name to this guy and tell us where he is. If you know him, call us before he kills again. And incidentally, should it help, there is a reward, about £10,000 on this one, so give us a call. Or you can call the Instant Room on 020 8358 0200.